Hello everyone, this is Logan59XP here for another episode of the Nin-Cast here on April 3rd of 2022, and today I'm here to give my thoughts on the one, the only, the infamous Morbius, the newest Marvel film, kinda, sorta, not really because it's a Sony film, but whatever. So, Morbius, this is a movie that basically nobody was looking forward to outside of the Spider-Man connections from the trailers. And then a couple weeks ago, we heard that the Spider-Man connections were all scrapped, and that apparently Michael Keaton was scrapped, and that everything that people cared about from the movie was scrapped. And then we heard a couple days ago, before it came out, that the movie itself was just, really not great. So, needless to say, I was not going into this movie with any real expectations. I mean, for a lot of these movies that feature characters I don't know anything about, like, for example, I didn't know anything about Shang-Chi, I didn't know anything about the Eternals, I didn't know anything about any of those newer characters. So I went into those movies with basically no expectations as well. But considering that this is a Sony film, and considering all that stuff I just mentioned, that definitely took my zero expectations to, below expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be a train wreck, like a lot of people were kind of implying it was going to be, but I definitely was not expecting it to be good. And now that I've seen the movie, I have an opinion that you will probably not hear that often, that you will probably not be hearing that much. And I swear to God I'm not crazy when I say this. After all the commotion, after all the controversy, after all that, okay, maybe not controversy, but after all of the stuff we've heard, having actually seen the movie, is the movie that bad? No, it is not. In fact, I'm going to go a step further. I actually kind of liked Morbius. Now, but don't click off the video. I'm not crazy, I swear. Please don't click off the video. Please don't dislike it. Please don't leave. Hear me out, I promise. Now, is Morbius a great movie? No. Is it a good movie? Okay, see, the very fact I even have to think about that just kind of goes to show where I'm about to go with this. But, okay, here's what I'm going to say before we go any further. This movie is better than Let There Be Carnage. And I know Let There Be Carnage is not exactly a high bar, but this movie is genuinely better than that. Let There Be Carnage, the only thing Let There Be Carnage really had going for it was the post-credit scene. And just Tom Hardy and Venom doing their thing. But outside of that, wasn't great. It was just kind of there. It was kind of a mess in some places. But it was alright. And then we got that kick-ass post-credit scene that they wasted in No Way Home, kinda, but that's a whole other conversation about how they took the best part of Let There Be Carnage, the post-credit scene, and then they wasted it. Like No Way Home is awesome, but the one complaint I have with No Way Home is that they wasted, what was the point in bringing Tom Hardy to the MC if you're just gonna kick him back out again? Now, yes, they have a little symbiote thing they left behind for future stuff, so it's not a complete waste, but it still feels like a waste to be like, yeah, Venom, look, he's looking the TV, yeah, and then No Way Home comes, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're just sending him back. We'll have this little bit left over so we can do stuff in Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6 or whatever. But I don't know. Again, if you want to hear my thoughts on Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and No Way Home, of course you can go watch those discussions. But this is about Morbius, so yeah, I genuinely think this movie is better than Let There Be Carnage, because Tom Hardy's Venom, say what you will about it, but he's entertaining. Jared Leto's Morbius. Jared Leto's Michael Morbius. Now, I don't know anything about Morbius outside of what I've seen in this movie. So this discussion is from the perspective of someone that has never read nor seen anything about Morbius before this movie. The only thing I knew about Morbius before this movie was that he was called Michael Morbius, he was a doctor, he turns into a vampire, and then he's a Spider-Man villain. That is literally all I knew about this character before I walked in. So everything you're about to hear is from the perspective of someone that doesn't know squat about him outside of this movie. For all the ridicule that Jared Leto's Joker got, and from what I heard, it definitely sounded like this was about to become another Joker, where it's another role he's gonna be laughed at for years, but I actually thought Jared Leto did a good job. Now, again, I don't know anything about the Morbius character, so I have no idea how accurate or not accurate. He's probably not as accurate as people would like, but that's just me speculating. But I thought Jared Leto did a good job. I thought he did a good job. You can tell that he cares for people, that he wants to do good. You know, it worked. I'm sorry. Jared Leto's Morbius worked. And even the other characters weren't half bad. There was I forget, Milo, with the British accent or whatever. He was fine. He was kind of he was fine. I didn't have real issues with him. There's not really, and even the other side characters, they're just kind of there, and they don't really. Obviously the female character that I don't remember the name of, so apologies. But Morbius is girlfriend who ends up dying, kind of, but not really. We'll get to that later. Even I would say that most of the characters, none of the characters none of the characters are annoying. All the characters, the minimum I would give any of the characters in this movie is a fine. And I would actually go as far as to say Jared Leto's Morbius is actually good. Again, from the perspective of someone that has not seen Jared Leto in any other movies, not even his Joker, and doesn't know squat about Morbius. So maybe he's way off from how Morbius is supposed to act. But in this movie, I thought he did a good job. I thought that the whole thing with I thought a lot. I'm actually kind of surprised how much of the movie was focused on the kind of sciencey stuff. Obviously there's the whole thing of he created artificial blood. How does that even work? That sounds very interesting to me, actually. Artificial blood, and just all the little science experiments he do. I thought that was interesting. The movie was more interesting than I was expecting. I was expecting this movie to feel kind of like a bit of I was not expecting it to be a train wreck, but I was expecting it to feel like we're just I was expecting the movie to just feel like where you just have to get through this to get to the post-credit scene, because the post-credit scene is clearly the only thing in this movie that's going to matter. And just kind of like with Venom, where it's Venom 2, the movie itself is whatever, it's fine. But the post-credit scene is where it was at. And that's the only reason why most people went to see that movie, was just for the post-credit scene. This I expected to be the same way. And it also didn't help that I was spoiled on the post-credit scene beforehand. We'll get to that in a second. Again, we'll talk about the post-credit scene later. But again, I know I'm not going to sit... I can't sit here and do a great in-depth explanation. Of course, there's going to be plenty of other videos that'll do a better job at this, but... I actually like this movie. Not a ton, but I like it more than some of the other movies we've had. I think I said this already, but in case I haven't, I'll say it again. This is better than Venom. This is better than Let There Be Carnage. I haven't seen the first Venom, although that's not exactly a high bar either. And I know Let There Be Carnage is not a high bar, but this is genuinely a better movie. Again, we'll talk about the post-credit scenes, but the actual movie is definitely better than Let There Be Carnage. I think it's Sony's best effort in their new universe so far. And granted, there's only 3 movies, and 2 of them are Venom, but... I'm sorry. I'm genuinely being serious here when I say it's a. I'm resistant to call. It's weird. I almost want to call it a good movie. I almost want to. Because I actually like it more. Okay, you know what? I said I like it more than Let There Be Carnage. I'm gonna go a step further. I'm gonna really do it right here. This movie, I think, is better than Eternals. It's safely better than Eternals, and it might be better than Black Widow. And I know those two movies are also not high bars. Those 2 movies, especially Eternals, are fairly low on the totem pole for MCU movies, but it's so weird. I expected this movie to just be one of those things that would come in and come out, and we'd see the post-credit scene and we'd get excited at that, and that would be it, just kind of like it was with Venom. But the movie itself was actually kind of good. It's weird. I feel weird, but that's genuinely how I feel. I genuinely think the movie was actually kind of good. It's not great, but it's way better than I expected. I expected the movie to be whatever. maybe a little bit of a mess. It's pretty decent. It's kind of good. It's weird. It's so weird. Okay. I can't really say that much. Okay. What else can I really say about this? It's like it's funny because like I feel like I need to explain myself. I feel like I need to explain myself as to why I think this movie is actually kind of good, and yet I don't really. I mean, okay, yeah, I think Jared Leto's performance is good. All the science stuff was pretty neat. They had some cool shots. They had some cool shots that you wouldn't see in the regular MCU. Oh yeah, there's one now, like Venom: Let There Be Carnage, but I think even more so with this one, you can tell this is not an MCU movie. This is a Sony production. Well, actually, not even a Sony production. This is just clearly not a Marvel movie. Like, it is a Marvel movie, but it's not a Marvel movie. It has a completely different tone and feel, and it's more violent. Like, it's not an R-rated movie, but it's not really going for that necessarily. But it's weird. It's different in a good way. Like, and some of the shots, like there was that one shot of like the person in the hospital running away with like the lights, and they had this like cool perspective. Like, I mean, of course, they have the flickering lights as the monster chases you. That's a stereotype. That's a stereotype that's been around. Not stereotype. That's a cliche that's been around for a long time. But I'm not talking about the actual like cliche of it. I mean like the shot. The actual like shot was really cool. Like the perspective they used, especially when like Morbius was like sucking the blood from like that nurse or whatever, and the camera just like and he's so small. Like the perspective is really neat. Like, it's weird. Like, the cinematography, something I normally am not, like, I don't really care that much about, as long as it's, like, okay. Because, like, the Marvel movies are not known for their great cinematography. The Marvel movie, like the regular MCU movies, not, like, the Marvel Studios MCU movies are known for not having the best cinematography. But most of the time, it's, like, whatever. This movie actually had some genuinely cool shots in it. Like, there's some others, I can't remember exactly where they were at the moment, but there was definitely some shots you could tell like they put some effort into, and that they wanted to look cool and neat and stand out from the regular Marvel fare, and I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah, the whole relationship. You want to know how you can tell this is not your standard MCU movie? The very beginning of Morbius, or Michael, I should say. I keep saying Morbius because that's the name of the movie. But of Michael and Milo in like that hospital in like Greece, and then obviously and then like they have that scene where like Milo almost dies because the like machine malfunctions, and then Michael uses like a ballpoint pen or whatever, like the guy said, to fix it. Like, that's a scene you would not see in an MCU movie. You wouldn't see, like, the first 5 minutes of the movie, you would not see a kid almost die in a hospital like that. You would not see that. You wouldn't see stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff you would never see in an MCU movie, and it makes it feel different, and it's interesting. It really is, but. And then, of course, there's that scene not too long after where, like, the paper flies out the window, and then the Milo goes out to try and get it back from, like, the bullies, and then they beat him up. And it's, like, again, that's another thing you wouldn't really see in, just, like, there's a lot of, like, kind of, like, imagery in this movie that you wouldn't really see. Again, it's not R-rated, it's not super gritty, it's not anything like that, but it goes farther. It does things different from the regular MCU movies that I kind of wish we saw more in the MCU. Like, I'm not one of those people that's all like, oh, all the MCU movies feel the same. I'm not really one of those people, but there are times where you can feel the sameness of the MCU movies. Even when they try to be different, they're still kind of pigeon-held by, like, the MCU formula somewhat. Even if it's still good. And this movie did things quite a bit differently than regular MCU movies, and of course it did because it's not an MCU film. But still, I'm going to compare it because it is a Marvel film technically still. And yeah, I really don't really know what else to say in regards to this. I mean, I don't really know how I can justify this other than I genuinely kind of liked it. And Jared Leto's performance was good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's honestly how I feel. You feel differently? That's fine. In fact, most people will probably not have the opinion I have on this one. I think most people are going to come out of this movie thinking it's either awful or okay. I actually think it's kind of good. It's better than Venom, Let There Be Carnage. It's better than Black Widow, and it's better than the Eternals, probably even. It's better than, like, 3 of the previous 5 or 6 MCU movies. Or Marvel movies, just in general, I should say. Shang-Chi is better. Shang-Chi is definitely better than this. Oh no, I'm thinking about it. Oh no, am I really going to go as far as to say it's better than that? Am I really that crazy? Am I that crazy? Oh man. Oh my god, am I really about to go this far? I actually, now that I really think about it, I actually might like this movie better than Shang-Chi. Oh no, am I really that far off the deep end? Is it better than literally everything we've gotten outside of No Way Home? I feel like I'm crazy. Okay, I feel like I'm crazy to say that, but now that I think about it, I think this movie might be better than Shang-Chi. So it's better than Venom, Let There Be Carnage. It's better than Black Widow. It's better than Eternals, and it might even be better than Shang-Chi. I feel crazy saying that, but I don't know why. But for some reason, because Shang-Chi is a movie. Again, you can watch my Shang-Chi thing I did a while ago, but that's a movie that I also went into with no expectations, and that movie I came out of being like pretty satisfied. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was a lot better than I expected. So it's kind of in the same respect as Morbius, but when I think about Shang-Chi more, because I haven't seen the movie since I first saw it. All the new movies, like all of the newer movies, I've only seen the one time in the theater. I haven't watched them on Disney Plus. I haven't watched them on Blu-ray or anything like that yet. But Shang-Chi is where, again, the MCU formula, you can feel it. It doesn't make the movie bad, but you can feel it being pigeonholed by the MCU formula. This movie's not. And I think it's better for it. I think Morbius is better for not using the MCU formula. I'm not knocking the MCU. I love the MCU. But it's just, it's neat to see something different. And also something that I think is done kind of well. Again, don't shoot me. It's so weird. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Long story short, it's not amazing. It is not a train wreck. It's not even close to a train wreck. I actually think it's... I know I keep saying it, but I genuinely thought this movie was actually kind of good. I thought it was better than a good amount of the movies we got last year. MCU or just regular Marvel, like with Venom. It's weird. I feel weird saying that. I know I keep saying that, but I really do, because this is like the complete opposite of how I expected to come out of this movie. I did not expect to come out of this movie hating it, because I don't really hate things nowadays. Like 5 or 6 years ago, I could hate something. Nowadays, it's like the worst I can really feel about something is just that I don't care about it, or that it's whatever. It takes a lot for me to genuinely hate something nowadays. I've just evolved past the point of really hating something, you know? Now it's just oh yeah, I don't really care for that, or nah, that's whatever. That's the worst I could possibly describe something nowadays. And that was what I was expecting to come out of this movie. I was expecting to come out of this movie and be like, yeah, it's whatever, it's fine, it exists. But I actually kind of like it. Okay. And enough of them. Okay. Long story short, I'm one of the crazy people that thinks Morbius is actually kind of good. I'm genuinely serious. This is not me trying to be contrarian. I genuinely, honest to God, think this movie is better than people give it credit for, and it's actually better than a couple of the movies we've had as of late. I feel weird saying that, and I did not expect coming out of this movie to be saying that, but that's how I feel right now. Maybe in the future, maybe this movie will age like milk. Maybe in a couple years I'll come back and I'll watch this movie and I'll be like, why did I like this movie as much as I did? I don't know, but yeah, it's not amazing, but it's the best Sony Marvel film, and it's the best Sony Spider-Man universe film so far, and it's better. It's better than people are saying. Yeah, I think it's actually kind of good. Not great, but it's actually kind of good. I like it. Now let's talk about the post-credit scene. Now it's funny because... Okay, so, fun fact. This video you're listening to right now was not supposed to exist because I thought I was not going to be seeing this movie. So I have a friend that I go to see all these Marvel movies with. Ever since Into the Spider-Verse came out, I've seen every single Marvel or Marvel adjacent films, Marvel Studios themselves as well as Sony. I've seen every Marvel film that is released since Into the Spider-Verse in theaters with him and his family. So Into the Spider-Verse in 2018, then Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Far From Home in 2019, and then last year, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Venom, Eternals, and No Way Home. And then, of course, I just saw Morbius with them. But I was under the impression I was not going to be coming for this one, because apparently, from what my friend told me, because I hadn't heard anything from him on whether or not I was going to be coming this time, because normally I come for the Marvel movies. But I was under the impression from what he told me that wasn't going to be the case this time because of some issues on their end and they weren't going to be able to take me for some reason. I was kind of like, you know what? That's all right. I mean, it's Morbius. I don't need to see Morbius. It's not that big a deal. And therefore, since I wasn't going to be seeing the movie, and since I wasn't willing to go and see it myself because it's not that important, it's Morbius for God's sakes, I was like, you know what? Since I'm not going to be seeing the movie, I'm just going to spoil the post-credit scenes for myself. Because that's the only thing about this movie I care about anyway. Since all the Spider-Man references were cut. Okay, they weren't all cut. Okay, I didn't talk about this in the main discussion, but there are references to Spider-Man still in the movie. Mostly in the post-credit scene. But there are references in the movie still, but all of the main ones are cut. Like that scene at the end of the first trailer where Michael Keaton is like, oh, Michael Morbius, what's up, Doc? That scene is cut. That's not in the movie. Morbius running past the poster of Raimi's Spider-Man from the PS4 game that says murderer, that's cut. The Daily Bugle is still there. So the Daily Bugle newspaper that says Black Cat and whatever, that's still there, but everything else was basically cut. But anyways, so since I thought I wasn't going to be seeing the movie, and therefore I wouldn't do a video, because if I didn't see the movie, why would I do a video on it? I went ahead and I spoiled myself on the post-credit scenes. Now, I had already been spoiled kind of on them even before that point, from a comment section in a video I saw. But I didn't actually know the whole story. I just knew that, okay, spoiler. Okay, if you've made it this far, you don't care about spoilers. I mean, all these Marvel discussions are spoilers, but... Or spoiler alert, but spoiler alert, I already knew that Vulture was in one of the post-credit scenes. I already knew that, but I didn't know how it actually went down. I didn't know the particularities. I just knew that Michael Keaton was in the post-credit scenes. So I went ahead, before I saw the movie, and I spoiled myself on them back when I thought I was going to be seeing the movie. It turns out eventually that actually I was able to come in the end. Hence the video that you're now listening to. But I had already spoiled myself on the post-credit scenes. Hence why at the beginning when I was like, well, actually, I might have said this. Did I say this earlier? I don't know. If I didn't say this earlier, I'll say it here again. Venom, say what you will. I think I said this earlier, but I'll reiterate it real quick. Say what you will about Venom 2, but it had the post-credit scene that everyone could agree on was great. But Morbius now has to rely on the movie being good because basically what I was implying back there was that I'd already had the post-credit scene spoiled for me. So now the movie itself has to actually be something. And like I've said, I mean, it actually ended up being something for me personally. But okay, enough with all this dilly-dallying. Let's actually talk about it. So long story short, with that whole little mini tangent was, at first I thought I wasn't going to end up seeing this. At first I thought I wasn't going to see the movie. And that's why, so I spoiled myself in the post-credit scenes because that's the only thing about the movie I really cared about anyway. So I watched those, little phone recordings from the theater. I watched both the post-credit scenes on YouTube a couple days ago. And then yesterday I heard, no, I actually will still be coming. And then I just saw it today, and now we're doing this. So I already knew the post-credit scenes going in. I guess is the main takeaway. So, but let's actually talk about them. Okay, so the first post-credit scenes start by showing the purple rift from the end of No Way Home. And then it cuts to a jail cell, and all of a sudden Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes just appears. And then he says, I hope the food's better in this joint. And then it cuts to a news feed of, it appears that a unidentified man named Michael Morbius just randomly appeared. Michael Morbius, oh my god. An unidentified man named Adrian Toombs has appeared in this random jail cell for no reason. It appears he will probably be let out since, of course, there's no reason for him to be there. And then that's kind of it. So that's the first post-credit scene, or the mid-credit scene, I should say. The first one is the purple rift from the end of No Way Home appears. And then it shows him appearing in the jail cell, and then he looks at a mirror, and then he's like, hope the food's better in this joint, and then that's kind of basically it. Okay. So again, I was spoiled on all this before I even saw the movie. And I also saw the Real Rejects talk about the post-credit scenes before I saw the movie as well. And basically what they said, I agree with. It doesn't make any sense because the rift at the end, because the purple rift from No Way Home, they're all coming through and I can't stop it, that we all thought was going to be this like big thing maybe, and then it turned out to basically just be a bunch of like glorified like cameos for the future Sony movies, or whatever. Like, hey, look, there's a Scorpion. Hey, look, there's Kraven, because the new Kraven movie's coming out from Sony or whatever. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about this entire post-credit scene that doesn't make any sense. In No Way Home, when the rift was closed, everyone else that came from a different universe went back to their universe. So, Toby, Andrew, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Sandman, everyone else that came from their own universes, when the rift closed, they went back to their universe. In this post-credit scene, the rift opens, and all of a sudden, Adrian Toombs' Vulture, Michael Keaton, just appears in the jail cell, which doesn't make any sense, because one, that's not how the rift works anyway. But also, more importantly, Adrian Toombs' Vulture, Michael Keaton, is not from the Sony universe. So why would the rift send him to that universe when the entire point of the rift closing was that they would get sent back to their original universe? Okay, maybe I'm not explaining this correctly, but point is, it doesn't make sense. That's all you really need to know. The Sony's explanation of using the No Way Home rift to bring Michael Keaton in doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Then there's the whole thing about how Michael Keaton is just like chill. And he's like, well, hope the food's better in this joint. I mean, that line by itself is not the problem I have. It's the fact that, like, and the thing is, at first, I probably wouldn't have even noticed this, but when I heard everyone else talk about how it doesn't make sense, because wouldn't he care about his family? He's in a new universe. Wouldn't he be freaked out that he got transported to a new universe? What about his kids? What about his family? Wasn't that the entire point of No Way Home? Wasn't that the entire point of his character in Homecoming, that he wanted to protect his family, that he wanted to protect his daughter? Is he just going to throw that out the window? Like, it doesn't make any sense. If you don't think about it, the post-credit scene is neat, because it's like, hey, look, Michael Keaton, he's in the Sony universe, and that's cool or whatever. If you don't think about the post-credit scene, it's neat. When you start thinking about it, it falls apart. Okay, so that's the first one. I may have not done the greatest explanation explaining why it doesn't work, but you can go watch the Real Rejects or some other channel that will explain it better than I can. Point is, the first post-credit scene, Michael Keaton comes into the Sony universe. That's the main purpose of it, and the explanation they use for it doesn't make sense, and also him not being freaked out at all doesn't make sense. Post-credit scene number 2, we see Michael Morbius driving in his car to some, like, hillside, or some, like, whatever, on some street, and then all of a sudden, Vulture comes flying in with his gear from Homecoming. I think, from what I heard, the suit is actually a little different. It's not the exact same suit from Homecoming. But all of a sudden, even though he just came to this universe, and again, wasn't shocked or anything by it, all of a sudden, he has a new suit. He made a new suit in that quick of a time span without Chitauri tech, by the way, because wasn't that like one of the things that was like, that was the thing from Homecoming, right? Is, his company was getting was taking off like the Chitauri remains from like the Battle of New York in the first Avengers movie, and then like Tony's company came in and took it, and then they went ahead and they did their own black market thing where they stole alien tech and sold it or whatever, and that's how they made all of their weapons and the suit. So like that suit, unless I'm missing something, required Chitauri tech to make. And that doesn't exist in the Sony universe. And obviously his suit didn't come with him to the Sony universe because he was in a jail cell in the MCU. So they obviously took his suit away. Plus his suit was destroyed at the end of Homecoming. So like, I don't know. Again, doesn't make sense. Okay, so Vulture appears with a new suit that he made in the Sony universe without Chitauri tech. Now, I might be wrong on the suit using Chitauri tech. If I'm butchering that name, by the way, I apologize. Chitauri tech, I believe is what it's called. I believe that's the name of like the alien race from the first Avengers that invaded. But anyways. So, whatever. Vulture has a new suit. He flies over, he meets Morbius. And then he talks about how, hey, I've heard a lot about you. I think we could do some good. I think I'm here because of Spider-Man, but I'm not really sure. Why don't we team up and see what happens? And then Morbius says, "Interesting," and then then that's it. Okay. So I already explained the suit and why that's weird. I mean, the suit, they can technically. The suit's not the biggest deal. The suit is like whatever. It's weird, but it's not game breaking. You wanna know what is kind of weird though? So obviously the entire purpose of this post-credit scene is to set up the Sinister Six. This is Sony's second attempt after the Amazing Spider-Man 2. The setup and build up to Sinister Six. Vulture, Morbius, Kraven's gonna probably be there because they got the movie coming, and a bunch of other characters, of course. That's obviously the point. They're trying to set up the Sinister Six. But the thing is, Morbius in this movie is a good guy? He wants to do good. He wants to help people. Why would he join the Sinister Six? It doesn't make any sense. And then also, like, the dialogue from Michael Keaton. Like, when I actually heard it in the theater, it didn't sound that bad. But I remember the first time I watched it, after hearing everyone talk about how the dialogue is, like, really dumb and stupid and cringy, and it's like a 5-year-old wrote it or whatever. When I saw it the first time on those, like, on YouTube, yeah, it was not great. In the theater, I didn't mind it that much. In the theater, I didn't mind. Maybe it's just because I knew it was coming and I already heard it. But yeah, the dialogue they gave Michael Keaton for that one scene, which is like the only scene in the movie he really exists in anyway, since they cut him out of the rest of the movie. Yeah, it's not great. The dialogue is not in that second post-credit scene in particular. Again, say what you will about hope the food's better. Like, say what you will about that line. That line I could like see him actually saying, but the dialogue. Oh, we're gonna do some. I don't know. The dialogue in that last post-credit scene. I don't know. Okay, so long story short, the post-credit scenes are the most important thing in the movie, just like it was with Venom. But the post-credit scenes are weird, don't make sense, and the dialogue ain't great. It's actually, and considering that I just made a whole. And considering I just spent like 20 minutes talking about how I actually thought Morbius was actually a kind of good movie, this is literally the exact opposite of Venom. Venom was whatever, but the post-credit scene was awesome. Morbius, the movie, was actually kind of good, to my surprise, in my opinion. I'm going to emphasize the in my opinion part, because I know that, because no one else is going to have that opinion, probably. In my opinion, I thought it was actually kind of good. Not amazing, but kind of good. I enjoyed it. And then the post-credit scene is like people were talking about beforehand how the post-credit scene is the worst part of the movie. You know what? I'm going to agree on that. The second time I saw it, this time, I saw it first on YouTube, second time in the actual theater when I saw the movie. I don't really mind it as much now, but it doesn't make sense, so I'm going to dock it for that. So yeah, the movie is better than the post-credit scene, which is the opposite of what it was with Venom, where the post-credit scene was definitely better than the movie. So that's Morbius for you. So yeah, Morbius. The surprise success for me, like, I'm definitely going to be in the minority with this one. And again, I'm not saying it's an amazing movie. It's not. But it's much better than I expected. I actually think it's kind of good. I actually like it. I genuinely kind of like this movie. Again, I don't like it a ton, but I like this movie. The movie itself, the post-credit scenes are weird and don't make sense, but the movie itself I actually kind of like. But I do have one complaint with the movie that I haven't talked about yet. I think the first, like, two-thirds of the movie are good, or kind of good, whatever. No, I'm gonna say good. The first two-thirds of the movie I actually liked. The obligatory third act climax where Morbius fights whatever the main villain is, which of course in this movie is technically Milo. It barely happens. And I heard this. I heard that the third act, the end of the movie is like really short and abrupt, and yeah, it is. The final like fight is like 2 minutes long. It's the shortest third act climax I've seen ever. Like, it's really short. And then the movie just ends. You know, Morbius kills Milo after their, like, 1 minute confrontation. And then he flies out of the cave with all of his bats. And then that's it. That's the end of the movie. Oh, okay, outside the post-credit scenes. But, you know, like, the movie just ends. There's no... I know that the third act climax is kind of a cliche at this point that I know some people don't like, but... Yeah, that's my only real complaint, is that the movie just kind of... Like, the third act climax doesn't really happen. I mean, it does, but not really, because it's so short. And then the movie just ends. And it's kind of like, okay, that's weird. Like, that's where you could tell that the movie was chopped apart in editing. Whether it was studio interference or whatever. I mean, this is Sony we're talking about, so studio interference is kind of like... studio interference is just kind of like a part of it's just kind of how it is, but... Yeah, so... Yeah, Morbius. I actually kind of like it. Post-credit scenes aren't great. They're interesting because, of course, you know, it involves the multiverse. It involves Michael Keaton's Vulture. And everyone likes Michael Keaton's Vulture, although we'll see how he's handled in the Sony universe. But yeah. That's my opinion on Morbius. It's much better than people give it credit for, in my opinion. I actually liked it quite a bit more than I was expecting. I think it's better than Black Widow. I think it's better than Eternals. I think it's better than Venom. And it might even be better than Shang-Chi. It's definitely not as good as No Way Home. No Way Home is like 2 tiers above it, at least. But it beats all the other Marvel movies, MCU or otherwise, that we've had over the last, like, year, I think. And I know that it's going to sound insane to most people. And I was not expecting to think of that myself. I was expecting this movie to just be, like... forgettable, kind of. Like, it wouldn't matter outside the post-credit scene, but it actually ended up being the opposite. The movie itself was actually kind of good, to me, for some weird reason. But the post-credit scenes were weird. They were neat, but they were weird. And not handled the greatest. So yeah, that's my opinion on Morbius. So what do you guys all think about Morbius? Do you think it's a train wreck like everyone else? Did you actually kind of like it like me? Do you think it's just alright? And what do you think about the post-credit scenes? Do you think the post-credit scenes are better than I'm giving it credit for? Do you think the post-credit scenes are hot trash? Whatever your opinion on this movie and the post-credit scenes are, feel free to let me know down below. And with that being said, this is Logan59XP, and I'll see you guys next time.